Hello, this is the Bible in Fewer Words. We are Carol and Steve Wells. This is episode 22, Genesis chapters 46 through 50. Hi, Steve.
Hi, Carol.
This is the last chapter of Genesis.
It is. It's our last Genesis episode. We're going to actually cover, 5 chapters in this episode. But the last 5 chapters of Genesis.
Cool.
So we should have a little celebration here when we get done.
Yeah.
There was something in the last episode that couldn't quite figure out.
Oh, yes. Joseph planting the divine cup, his divining cup, in Benjamin's bag with some money.
Right.
And we were wondering why he would do that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was obvious he was trying to set them up.
So to kind of say, you stole this from me and now I'm going to...
I need to stay here. You have to stay with me. You're kind of my slave, my servant.
Yeah.
Because of that. So Benjamin was obviously Joseph's favorite brother. He gave him 5 times as much clothes, 5 times as much food. Mm-hmm. And he insisted that they go back and get him.
Yes.
And so he was really important to him. So that's why we think. But then he changed his mind and just said, oh, just bring your whole family back with you. Get your dad, bring your whole family back and stay with us in Egypt. Live with us in Egypt.
Yeah. Okay, so chapter 46, verse 1. When Jacob began his journey to Egypt, God said to him, Jacob, Jacob, I am your father's God.
Yeah, I got to stop there. God has already renamed Jacob Israel 2 times that we know of.
So this should previously be Israel.
He should be calling him Israel because he changed his name, but he's calling him Jacob. And the other thing is that he identifies him as, I'm your father's God, like he's identifying himself as his father's God. And yet Jacob knows him pretty well. He actually wrestled with him.
And won. Jacob won the wrestling match.
That's right. So they should know each other by now.
Yes. I mean, he's his God as well, right?
He's everyone's God, I think, right? He's not I'm your father's God? That's pretty weird.
Yep.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to go to Egypt. I'll make a great nation from you while you're there. So I thought that was a typo. I thought it was, I'll make a great nation for you while you're there. But no,
it's from you,
from
all of your descendants.
I know, I checked.
Yeah.
I checked to make sure you were right, and you were right.
And I would suggest that you do that as we read this. I have the links there. If you read it on the website, you can
That's verse 3.
Yeah, you can go to verse 3 or any of these verses and see what I included and what we left out.
Okay. I'll do that from now on.
Okay.
I'll go to Egypt with you, and I'll bring you back again. So Jacob and his family went to Egypt. There were a total of 70 people in Jacob's family when they came to Egypt.
Yeah, and I'm going to leave out some stuff here about the details of who is coming.
Because I'm looking here and I see verse 5 and then I see verse 27. So you skipped a bunch of verses.
I did, yeah. And the reason that I did is that the people that are coming back, it mentions all of Jacob's sons and their children.
By name?
By name, yeah. Huh. So I think if you counted it up, I don't think you'd come up with 70, but I'll have to do that and see. Yeah, but Jacob and his sons and their families are coming with him here, and there's 70 altogether.
Okay. You want to go ahead?
Okay. When Jacob and his family arrived in Goshen, Joseph drove his chariot over to meet them.
Okay, so they're there. They just left Canaan, and now they're in Goshen.
Yeah, and that was a long trip again. They're just going back and forth between Canaan and Egypt, as though it was just, a few mile trip, but it was a long trip. Okay, chapter 47. When Joseph told the Pharaoh that his family had arrived in Egypt, the Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Give your family the best land in Egypt. They may live in the land of Goshen." Joseph brought Jacob to Pharaoh, and the Pharaoh asked Jacob, "How old are you?" Jacob replied, 130. Joseph gave his family the best land along with bread to feed their families.
Well, that was nice of him.
Yeah.
Of the Pharaoh to give a little audience to Jacob.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So they're getting settled then, I guess.
Yeah.
In Goshen.
Yeah, and at the time, I guess there's still a famine going on, or at least there is a famine going on.
Okay. So verse 13. There was no food in Egypt or Canaan. So Joseph gathered up all the money in Egypt and Canaan by selling bread to the starving people. So he still had bread that he had stored up, I guess, during the...
I think so, the 7 years of famine and the 7 good years and all that.
Yeah.
I guess.
All right. When he had taken all their money, he took their animals. When he had taken all their animals, he took their land. And when the people had no money, animals, or land, Joseph made them plant crops and give 20% of their produce to the Pharaoh.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
In verse 29, we're told that when it was time for Jacob to die, he called Joseph and said to him.
What do you think he said to him?
Well, he's going to promise. So what he said is, put your hand under my thigh and promise me that you won't bury me in Egypt.
Okay.
Bury me with my fathers.
The whole hand under the thigh
Hand
again.
under the thigh, yeah. If you really want to make somebody swear and promise to do something for you, have them put their hand under your thigh.
Okay. So that happened here.
And just what that really is, we don't know. But it might be more than putting hand under. In any way, it's pretty weird.
Yes. And Joseph swore.
Yeah.
And this is chapter 48. When Joseph heard that his father Jacob was sick, he went to visit him with his two sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. After they arrived, Jacob said, "Your two sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, are now mine. Any other children that you have will be yours." Well, wait a second. He's just taking...
Yeah, and he means that literally. Ephraim and Manasseh are now the sons of Jacob. They're really the grandsons.
Yes, they're really the sons of Joseph.
Yes, but for as far as Jacob is concerned, they're his. And as far as the Bible is concerned, they're his. They will become tribes of Israel. Sons become the 12 tribes of Israel because, Jacob's name was changed to Israel.
Okay.
And we'll sort all that out later, but
Yeah.
it does work out. And Ephraim and Manasseh will be tribes of Israel.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
All right. I need to get that sorted in my brain first.
Yeah.
Joseph brought his two sons to Jacob, with Ephraim towards Jacob's left hand and Manasseh towards his right. But Jacob put his right hand on Ephraim's head and his left hand on Manasseh's. Manasseh was the older son, and he blessed them. Oh yeah, there's that blessing going on.
Yeah, and he's got his left hand on the older son, and that's just not right.
No, it's not.
God is right-handed.
Left-handed people would, like to argue with you.
But the right hand of God is the place to be. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he's putting his right hand on the younger son.
Yeah.
And usually the older son gets everything and the blessing and everything.
Right, pretty much.
So it should go to Manasseh.
Right.
But it's going to Ephraim. Okay.
Right.
So when Joseph saw that Jacob put his right hand on the wrong head, he tried to reverse Jacob's hand, saying, "You've messed up the blessing, father. Put your right hand on the firstborn son."
But Jacob refused, saying, I know. Manasseh will become a people, and he will be great. But his younger brother Ephraim will be greater, and his seed will become a multitude of nations. Okay.
More than one nation.
I guess so, yeah.
That's
And
weird.
Jacob went on with the blessing. Then Jacob said to Joseph, I'm dying, but God will be with you and bring you to Canaan. I'm giving you more than I'm giving your brothers, which I forcibly took from the Amorites.
Really? I mean, why would he be giving Joseph more?
I don't know.
Because Joseph already has more, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And is that right? Has there been fighting going on to get stuff from the Amorites?
That's strange because there's going to be a lot of fighting going on as we continue the in the Old Testament, but there hasn't been too much yet. And it's acting like Jacob's been busy fighting, and really the only person that we know of him fighting is his wrestling match with God, right?
Yes.
Anyway.
Okay, I want to say something here.
Okay.
About this. So Jacob's saying, I know what I'm doing. I'm putting the blessing on the wrong kid, but just let me do it.
Right.
So when has the blessing been on the wrong person before? Yeah. Wasn't it Jacob who tricked his dad, Isaac?
Yeah.
Jacob and his mom, they colluded.
Yeah.
To make it so that he gave the blessing to him instead of Esau.
Right. So Jacob tricked Esau out of his blessing with his mom's help.
Yes.
Now he's messing with
Ephraim and Manasseh.
Giving Ephraim the big blessing, and Manasseh was the older son, the oldest son. Okay.
Okay, so chapter 49. When Jacob was preparing to die, he gathered his sons around him, and he addressed each of them individually. He began with his oldest son, Reuben, and said, is this where he's going to say nice things about all of his kids?
We'll see.
Okay.
You'd think so.
Reuben will not excel because he had sex with his father's wife. And Jacob is his father, right?
Yeah.
You could say with my wife.
My wife,
Or my concubine.
Right.
Jacob continued addressing his sons, saying, Simeon and Levi are cruel.
And that had to do with the Shechem and Dinah, when they killed his father and all of the men. He kind of pointed out Simeon and Levi were the brothers that did the killing. Mm-hmm. So he's saying they're cruel because of that.
They were cruel.
They were.
Yeah, all those guys got circumcised, and while they were recovering, they killed them all.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
It's pretty darn mean. Okay, Judah, what's he going to say about Judah? Judah is like a lion. His descendants will be kings until Shiloh comes. We don't really know who Shiloh is yet, do we?
No, but the thing about Judah and his descendants being kings, that's going to happen, and we'll see that later.
Okay, and Judah is the father of and Onan and and Shelah.
Shelah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Onan, of course, are deceased.
Yes, they're dead. Well, 2 out of 3.
Yeah.
Okay, so Judah, he washed his garments in wine, and his eyes will be red with wine. Maybe he's crying a lot when his kids died.
Or drinking too much.
Okay, yeah. Zebulun will live by the sea. Issachar is a strong donkey. He's starting to rhyme now. Dan will be a snake that bites horse heels. Mm-hmm. Gad will overcome at last. Asher will have fat bread and royal dainties. Naphtali is a wild female deer that gives goodly words. Don't really know what any of that means.
A well-spoken female deer, I guess.
I guess. I didn't know deer were talking, but
Mm-hmm.
Joseph is a fruitful branch by a well whose branches run over a wall. Archers shoot at him and hate him. God will bless him with blessings of the beast and of the womb. Benjamin is a wolf who will devour prey. These are the 12 tribes of Israel.
Yeah, and it gets complicated. It's a little bit. Those are the 12 sons of Jacob, who is Israel, but it gets a little bit more complicated, that as we'll see later.
Okay. After Jacob stopped talking, he gathered his feet into his bed and died.
Okay, chapter 50. Joseph fell on his father's face and wept.
Usually they just fall on their own faces.
Yeah, that's a very strange thing, but that's actually what the King James says, exactly that. He commanded the physicians to embalm Jacob's body. It took 40 days to embalm the body, after which the Egyptians mourned for another 70 days. Jacob's sons returned his body to Canaan, and he was buried in the cave of the field of Machpelah.
They have interesting names in the Bible, don't they?
Yeah.
This is verse 15. After their father Jacob died, Joseph's brothers worried about what Joseph would do to them. I guess they don't have their dad to protect them anymore.
Yeah, well, they threw him in the pit. And
yes, and he ended up in Egypt, and that all turned out pretty well for him. Mm-hmm. So they sent a messenger to Joseph saying, we're sorry, please forgive us. Joseph said to them, don't be afraid. Am I God? You tried to hurt me, but God made it all good. And then verse 22, Joseph died when he was 110 years old. So wait a minute, that's all we're going to hear about Joseph?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. There's a few more verses there, but he just died.
Okay.
And that is the end of Genesis.
That is the end. We're through our first book of the Bible.
Yeah, that's right. Only 65 more to go. But some of them are short.
Some of them are very short. Okay, well, thank you for listening today, and we will see you next time.
Bye.